مناهج، ليه مجموعة من الكورسات الكتير. هو إن شاء الله يبدأ يعرفنا على نفسه ونبدأ السيشن بإذن الله. هديني حضرتك بس دقيقتين أبدأ. خلاص بدأنا، اتفضل حضرتك.
طيب اسمحي لي حضرتك ان انا يعني اعمل شير لل.
طبعا اتفضل.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. As you know, today our session is about English teachers TNA standards, English teachers self-assessment framework. Okay. سمر الصوت واضح عندكم؟
الصوت واضح جدا يا دكتور، اتفضل.
تمام حضرتك. طبعا في البدايه طبعا انتم عارفين الموضوع، عندكم فكره بسيطه عنه، ان هو عباره عن TNA اللي هو Training Needs Analysis، هيتعمل للتيتشرز English Teachers Self-Assessment Framework. يعني هنعرف تفاصيله حالا من خلال بدايات العرض. طبعا طبعا the trainer اللي هو انا Master and PhD in Curriculum and TEFL Instruction, Cambridge TKT and CELTA certified, IELTS trainer from British Council, speaking examiner, Cambridge exams consultant, Oxford certified academic mentor, digital and online teaching expert. Okay. Our target trainees are novice teachers and experienced teachers, and graduates of faculty of education, arts. Okay. Our agenda today, we have certain points we will talk about in our session today. Training needs analysis or assessment, levels of training, TNA, 4 stages of development, how to make a self-assessment for your needs, 12 elements of English teacher framework, TNA and self-assessment form questionnaire, suggested PD courses for English teachers. These are the topics we will cover in our session. The first, let's read together this saying. Teaching in the internet age means we must teach tomorrow's skills today. Jennifer Fleming. Okay, so in our age nowadays, we are in the age of internet. Internet means in the age of technology. So we should expect what will be the learners, our learners in the future. What are the skills in the future? So we should all the time update our skills. So as teachers of English, we have certain things to be qualified. We have certain skills. Okay, as you know.
دكتور حضرتك ما فيش شير سكرين على فكرة.
مش واضحة الشاشة قدامكم؟
لا يا فندم ما فيش شير سكرين.
لحظة حضرتك أكمل كده ما فيش. خطأ. طب تاني. Okay, sorry for mistake. Okay, let's again make sharing. Okay, can you hear me now, please? Can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Can you see the presentation now?
No. The presentation, no. We just see your screen, your camera.
My camera. Mm-hmm. When I make sharing, screen sharing has failed to start. I don't know why. This is the first time I met such a problem. So have you given me the permission to share? Yes, it's okay.
Yes, you are co-host, so you have the. Okay, so let me make you as host. Just a minute.
Okay. The same problem. Screen sharing has failed to start. Please try again later. Mm-hmm.
Doctor, you can send it to me so that I can share it for you from my device.
Okay, Mr. Now we have, I sent you the presentation.
No. The presentation is not clear. There is no share screen, but you can complete until you can fix this problem. Or you can send me the presentation. I can share it for you if you want.
Yeah, I sent it already to you, but.
Sorry, doctor, what did you say?
I sent it already to you now on the messenger.
Okay.
You got it, someone?
Yes, doctor, just give me a few minutes. Few seconds.
Okay.
Doctor, can you go on until I share it from my computer, please?
Okay, no problem. Okay, and as you know, the standards for teaching or the framework for teaching, as we have for learners, English proficiency, we have framework like CFR, GSE of Pearson. Each level of English has its own can-do statements or its own standards or objectives for A1, A2, B1, B2, and up to C2, okay? Also in teaching, we have framework. We have certain criteria, certain standards. You as teachers, you need to fulfill or to develop your skills to be up to the level you want. We need to make shed light on performance and competence. What is the difference between performance and competence? Do you know? Can you add just words in the chat box? Performance and competence. Mr. Mohammed Safi said acting, okay. This is for performance, okay. We need to differentiate between them because some performance means presentation, okay, to present your target language. Performance is what to do, but competence are the aims and objectives. Okay, doing good, Nisreen, yes. Doing some things, okay. Okay. Okay, good sayings. Okay, good participations. Performance is what you do inside the class, your presentation, your acting, as you said, your performance, your techniques you use to convey the target language. Okay, and the competence is your skills, your knowledge, your attitude. Okay, so performance is not equal to competence, but performance can lead to competence. When you practice more as a teacher, your competence is higher, you are more advanced. So your performance can go from poor to average to good to excellent. So you can develop your performance, okay? And the competence, as I said, has three main components: knowledge, skills, attitude. The knowledge, the what. We say about knowledge, the what information you know. The skills, about how you convey your information to the learners. Okay. And the competence, as I said, okay, has three main components: knowledge, skills, attitude. The knowledge, the what. We say about knowledge, the what information you know. The skills, about how you convey your information to the learners. Okay. And the competence, as I said, okay, has three main components: knowledge, skills, attitude. The knowledge, we say about knowledge, the what information you know. The skills, about how you convey your information to the learner. Okay. And the competence, as I said,
Doctor, the voice is not clear.
main components: knowledge, skills, attitude. The knowledge, we say about knowledge, the what information you convey your. حضرتك لو سمحت اقفلي اليوتيوب من عندك لأن الصوت بيطلع هنا، الصوت بيطلع على الزوم.
انتبهت. أعتذر.
حضرتك لو سمحتي احنا دلوقتي في الشريحه اللي هي فيها الكومبتنس، اللي هي الثمن. ايوه بالظبط. حضرتك لحظه دلوقتي زي ما قلنا الفرق بين بيرفورمانس وكومبتنس، لو ضغطنا بعدها حضرتك معلش. Performance, as we said, performance is not equal to competence, but performance leads to competence. When you practice more, you perform your roles as teacher, okay? So your competence is more advanced. The next slide, please. So competence has three main components. The next slide, please. Okay, your performance moves from bad, poor, average, good to be excellent. Okay, as I said that before. The next one. Yeah, this is very important to know. Competence, knowledge, information you know about your language, your subject you teach, your skills in conveying this knowledge. So the techniques, you know how to convey this knowledge to the learners. The third component is attitude. What you want to do, your determination, okay? How to motivate students, your motivation as a teacher. So your attitude is very important. Other educators added something to the competence, which is values, the values you have as a teacher. Okay, the next slide, please. TNA, training needs assessment or analysis. So the A here, training needs analysis or assessment. We have both assessment and analysis. Okay, this is very important to know because they have different levels, different stages. An easy assessment identifies gaps that currently exist between a current and future state. You are a teacher and you teach to a certain level, certain learners, okay? So maybe you have some gaps. Some gaps means some points to work on, some skills you need to acquire, okay? So you at first make assessment or TNA, what training needs assessment. Then after that, you make some sort of analysis to your needs. A needs analysis, on the other hand, is used to analyze the gaps that were discovered through the needs assessment. I like to think of it as a root cause analysis for gaps. Okay, so it's analysis for the gaps. The next slide.
Dr. Mr. Ahmad wants to ask.
Okay, start. Go on, please.
He lowered his hand, so I can't unmute him again. Okay, sorry, doctor, you can complete.
Okay, if they have some questions, we can say at the end or after the break, okay? The next slide, please. Training needs analysis is the process of identifying the areas where both individuals and groups in an organization would be benefit from training in order to become more effective at achieving their own objectives and the objectives of the organization. So you need to identify the areas that you need as an individual to develop, okay? Also, maybe your organization, your school, your college, your institution, okay, need to be developed or to be trained for certain topics. So the training need analysis may be individual or institutional. Okay, the next slide, please. Yeah, the first step in developing a training program is to determine what the organization needs in terms of training. There are 3 levels of training needs assessment. As I said, your organizational assessment, the organization makes assessment for all employees, for teachers. So the next one is your occupational assessment. You are assessed for as your occupation need as a teacher. Okay, so there are a lot of skills, a lot of techniques that occurred the last year, for example. Okay, so you should know them because this is a requirement for your job, for your occupation. Another assessment, which is the individual one, you do for yourself. Okay, the next slide, please. Activity. Please, in the chat box, what are the stages of professional development, CPD? So, when I want to develop my skills, okay, I need to have certain stages. I have certain stages starting from 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can mention, you can type in the chat box, okay? Please. For example, there is listening, speaking, reading, writing. These are the skills of, okay, Mr. Khairi said, identifying the lack of the gap. Good. And this is a stage, okay, this is a level. So planning, Mr. Muhammad Alfi, planning, learning, event, reflection, action. Good. The correct start according to my level. Yeah, Ms. Sumaya, yes. So your answers are very near from the stages I have here, okay? And then trying to get information about the, yes, good, Mr. Khairi. The next slide, please, Ms. Summer. We have 4 stages. Okay. Summer, please, the next slide. The first one is awareness. No, please. Yes, awareness. You have heard of the professional practice. Okay, as you, for example, you heard about teaching online. So you now are aware of the idea itself. So after that, you got some idea about it, then you want to make integration in your teaching. You demonstrate a high level of competency in this professional practice, and this constantly informs what you do at work. Engagement, okay? Engagement, you demonstrate competency in this professional practice at work, okay? So after that, you have more advanced level of engagement of this technique or this skill. Understanding, you know what the professional practice means and what it is important. Now you become some sort of expert. Awareness, you got the idea, you may have training, after that integrate in your teaching. Engagement means you use it in a more advanced way than understanding, which now you are some sort of expert. The next slide, Ms. Summer, please. How to make a self-assessment for your needs. Maybe you have official one. Maybe at your school, you have official TNA, which is done by your supervisor, your principal, whatever, okay? Maybe you have observation, okay? As the supervisor gives observation visits or class visits to you, then he writes down some recommendations. These recommendations are part of the recommendations are part of the points to work on. So you need to be trained. Maybe you need to read about. Maybe you need to be trained. Okay, the framework itself. There is a framework for teaching. Okay, Cambridge has its own framework for teaching. Also, British Council. Okay, so you have certain framework starting from from foundation level, developing, professional, expert. Each level has its own standards. Okay, so you measure your level on using this scale. Okay, according to the scale, according to the framework, am I in a foundation level? Am I professional? Am I expert? So it depends on the criteria or the standards, you know. Please again, learners' needs. Okay, you have different learners. Learners are not the same, and they don't learn in the same way. So you need to train to develop your skills according to your learners' needs. Also, we have new trends in ELT, English language teaching, and the curricula. Okay, for example, the last maybe 5 or 10 years, we have a new trend in teaching, which is CLIL, which is part added to English language, okay? But it is not a skill, it is a content-based module, okay? This skill needs different techniques, different strategies to convey to the students or to present to students. So you should train yourself or read more to upskill yourself to be up to this level. Self-assessment, the TNA, which I'm trying to convey to you, explaining to you today about how to do your self-assessment. The next slide, please, Ms. Summer. What are the main domains of assessing teachers' performance? Okay. Now we have different domains. When you have a TEFL course, you have different domains, different topics. So what are the main domains, the main topics of assessing teachers' performance? When someone visits you in your class while you are teaching, okay, he is following some domains, some criteria, some can-do statements. Could you tell me shortly, what are they? Or some of them, yes, in the chat box, please. Preparation, performance, interaction, knowledge, yes, Mrs. Manal and Mr. Khairi, good. Mrs. Manal also said personality. Okay, good. Who else can add something? Yeah, Mr. Khairi also said class control. So here, Mr. Khairi is very active. Thank you very much for your participation. Mr. Adam, students engagement, good. Mrs. Manal, thank you very much. Management, qualification, Mrs. Badriya, pupils level, time management, good, good. Ms. Fatin, yes. Ms. Sumaya, involving students, which is a different word for engagement, yeah. Class environment, Mrs. Nagwa Asad, yeah, academic, personal, class management, very good. So you now have the topics, okay? And now I have 12 domains, 12 topics to ask yourself, can I do these points? Okay, the next slide, please. Thank you, Mr. Adam. The objectives being met, yes. We have 12, a professional practice. Number 1, planning lessons and courses. Okay, so we will talk about each item in details. Planning lessons and courses, understanding learners. understanding, sorry, planning lessons and courses, understanding learners, managing the lesson, knowing the subject, managing resources, assessing learning, integrating ICT technology, taking responsibility for professional development, using inclusive practices, using multilingual approaches, promoting 21st century skills, understanding educational policies and practice. These are we can say the optimal practices, the optimal domains, okay? But as a teacher, you may need to develop the basics of them. Okay, you don't need to develop all of these 12 at one shot, okay? Okay, the next slide, please. The next slide. Summer, please, the next slide. Sample, please. Here I have something to, but there is a form I need to show you here, but I can't share it with you. Okay, I sent it. Let me send it to Ms. Summer.
Yes, doctor.
Okay, هبعت لحضرتك في فورم بس هتعملها شير لو سمحتي. Okay, Ms. Summer, you got it?
Yes, doctor. That's what you said.
Yeah, this is, okay, no problem. This is a real observation form for Mr. Z, for example, okay? I did it before, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. This is a form which has different items and different level of achieving each item. For example, please, please down, please. Lesson plan, yes, lesson planning and preparation. We have 3 levels, okay? Look, all the aims of the lesson were clear and appropriate in relation to learner needs. The lesson was very well organized with logical staging throughout. Okay, the next one has the same, but had some, please, okay, again, please, again, some appropriate aims in relation to learner. The third point, which is the learner lacks aims that were appropriate. So here the teacher was perfect in this item. The number 2, student-centered learning environment. Okay, did he achieve the student-centeredness? The next, please down, please. So he was, please again, number two, yes. The teacher ensured the learning environment, okay, but he took the level 2 with the teacher sometimes ensured the learning environment was student-centered, okay. So the STT with the teacher was not that, as you know, we have teacher talking time and student talking time. Okay, we should increase the student talking time and listen or make the teacher talking time less. Okay, so he was average. Number 3, teacher talking time and instructions. The instructions you give as a teacher to students, okay? When they are going to answer a task, you give instructions. Are your instructions clear? Okay, the teacher talking time also, it was enough, or it was maybe higher, or you increase it. Okay, so he was average. Number four, rapport, participation, and engagement. Okay, the number five, group and pair work. Number five, Summer. The next one, okay, after growth. Also, he was a average. The students worked in groups and pairs during some stages of the lesson, but not all the lesson. Okay, number six, feedback, correction, and assessment. Okay, do you, as a teacher, do you provide enough feedback or correct feedback for your students? Okay, do you correct them in a good way that guarantee the learning, that guarantee to help them to be more fluent in the language? Assessment, what assessment tools you use to evaluate or to assess your students? Do you have certain can-do statements for the students? Okay, when someone asks you about a student, do you have a certain tool to give him the feedback or to give him some points about his positive or negative points? Number seven, digital. Digital means here, digital means the IT or technology. Okay, you know that each course in English nowadays has its own iTools. Okay, which we or active learning or active CDs to help the teacher to present the target language interactively. Number eight, differentiation. As you know, you have different learning styles. So did you follow the differentiation? Did you achieve your goals for all students levels or for all students learning styles? Okay, the next one, please. Now this is the descriptive assessment of the teacher, or we can say it is the qualitative. Summary of good points. Mr. Z is clearly a teacher who enjoys his work, and the students can sense that this was a real teacher, okay? There were many positive things one could mention about the lessons, but I will just focus on a few. Here, I focused only on the main points. Perhaps the most obvious thing most Mr. Z is his high level of energy, his sunny disposition, and the way he uses his voice. All of which are excellent for maintaining student motivation. So his voice is very motivated, is good for the students to follow. Number three, Mr. Z was also very thoroughly prepared. He is well prepared, as can be, please, Summer, as can be seen from the beautiful color-coded lesson plan he submitted and the carefully prepared materials he used during the lesson. Okay, so when you prepare your lesson well, the observer or the supervisor will take into consideration the activities were brief and the pace, please, Summer, the pace brisk, and Mr. Z kept moving among the students, encouraging them to participate and helping them when they hesitated. So he was encouraging. He encouraged students to interact. Okay, but the teacher has some points to work on. Okay, these are the recommendations. These are the points he needs to develop. Mr. Z tended to focus on individual words. And this is a big problem for some teachers. They present words individually. As this was a vocabulary lesson, he needed to move from words to collocation and from collocation to sentence. So you start by presenting words, then chunks or collocation, then full sentences. And the sentence according to the level. For example, it is easier to remember hit a nail with a hammer. Okay, so it's better to say for hit a nail with a hammer than simply the word hammer itself alone, okay? Or cut the wood with the saw, than simply say the word saw, okay? So presenting words in isolation is not recommended for students. Mr. Z lesson could be improved by the introduction of a freer practice stage. So, you know, we have different levels of practice: controlled, semi-controlled, then free practice. So all kinds of activities would have been possible. So, you can say, Simon says it is a game for primary level. Simon says is one of with the students miming the action when the command, for instance. So here I gave him the area to work on and give him the solution, a prompt of the solution. Okay. Also, we can use TPR. So TPR, some teachers may know nothing about TPR, so they need to be trained, read more about TPR. The idea is to move from a teacher-fronted lesson to one where the students are active participants and the teacher simply monitors unobstructively. Okay, Ms. Samar, please again back to the presentation. Okay, as we saw this real observation form concentrated on different domains, different topics. We will start with planning lessons and courses. Planning lessons and courses involve the following elements. So I ask myself, or talk to myself, I can describe my learners' learning needs. I can define aims, okay, and I can define learning aims. So I have certain aims for the students or for the lesson. Can I define them well? I can select the develop activities, resources, and materials. Divide lessons into coherent stages and timing. I can plan board work. I can select and describe interaction patterns. You know, interaction patterns from the student to the student, from student to teacher, from teacher to students, according to the target language you present. Differentiate learning. Can I differentiate learning to meet all different learning styles? Anticipate problems. Can I predict what problems may I meet in the future or when presenting the lesson? So I need to prepare solutions, prepare different techniques for some low achievers, for example. Plan assessment techniques. Can I plan assessment technique to check my students' understanding, to check if they got the aims I defined? So I have defined aims, so I should assess them at the end of the lesson. The next slide, please, Ms. Summer.
Doctor, I have a question here.
Okay.
Do you mean here that when I plan my lesson, I should take care of these points?
Yes, I should to ask myself or say these sentences. I can do these points. If I can do these points, so it's okay. If I couldn't achieve these points, so I have here a problem. I need to develop or to make some remedial, some correction to my techniques.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. The next slide. Planning lessons and courses. Okay, I can also, we continue. I can describe how to check my learners' understanding. I don't understand my students. Can you understand? As you know, it is not a good question but I should know how to check their understanding using, maybe you can use assessment tools, different assessment tools. You can use tasks. You can give, when you have free practice, they can make use of the new language. Describe when and how feedback will be provided. You should know when and how. When you provide feedback for students, you should know how, when, the time you provide it, and how. Okay, plan activities that help my learners to develop learning strategies. Okay, you have activities or tasks you prepare for your students. Number 4, reflect on the approach and effectiveness of my lesson planning, incorporating learner. So here you should, after you planned your lesson and described and prepared your objectives and did your assessment, okay, reflect on the approach and effectiveness of my lesson. Is my lesson planning effective? Does it help my students to be better? Okay. Feedback and other evidence. I can feedback. The next point is understanding learners. Okay, number 2, please. The next point is understanding learners. I should say these sentences or ask myself, for example, about these items. Understanding learners involves the following elements. I can make decisions about teaching and assessment by applying an understanding of the following learning characteristics. Okay, I should know my learner. I should know my students well. Level of attainment, age, interests, preferred ways of learning, group dynamics, motivation to learn. Is he motivated or not? Both generally and in relation to specific subjects. Okay. Educational, social, cultural, and linguistic background. I know these are a lot of characteristics, but at least you should know the basics of them. You should know his interests, his preferred ways of learning. You should know, is he motivated or not? Any special educational needs, okay, level of autonomy, and this is very important for the learners or for you as a teacher, to help a student to be autonomous in learning. You should provide him with the tools to be autonomous in learning. Personality, you should know his personality. Okay, the next slide.
Dr. Ms. Samah wants to ask something about this point.
Okay.
Ms. Samah, تفضلي.
Samah, okay. Please, the next slide. Managing the lesson. How to manage the lesson involves the following elements. I can control the pace and timing of activities. I should make some sort of time allotment for each activity. Signal transition between stages of the lesson. Okay, as you know, that any lesson has different stages. So you should follow this stage without the students observe this transition from stage to another. Adjust the classroom layout to support learning. Okay, you can change the settings or the seating for the class. Respond to unexpected classroom events. Make effective use of resources and equipment. Give instructions effectively. Explain learning aims and content appropriately. check understanding, use language appropriate to my learner's level, make appropriate decisions about which languages are used by the teacher and learners. So here in this level or in this domain, you should manage your class appropriately, whether you are relating to time, to the seating, to the instructions, to the rapport with the students, to checking understanding, to, okay? The next slide, please. Managing the lesson, part 2. I can monitor the learner engagement in order to maintain motivation. So while students are interacting or are doing some tasks, okay, you should monitor your students. Why? Because you need to know their problems, their points, to make some sort of feedback. Establish number 2 and maintain classroom discipline. Can I do that? Can I establish and maintain classroom discipline? Can I set up classroom activities that include a variety of interaction patterns? Adjust the plans to take advantage of opportunities for learn that emerge during lessons. Okay. Establish and maintaining a positive learning environment. Also, reflect on my lesson management, identify the strengths and weaknesses, and make adjustments needed. So after I finish my lesson, I should, okay, did I manage my lesson well? Okay, so I need to assess my teaching or my classroom management. Activity, how can you know your subject well, especially you are teachers of English? Please just write in the chat box, please. Okay. How can you are English teachers, how can you know your subject well? Your subject, I mean here, your language. How can you achieve language awareness?
Doctor, you mean that we know about the textbook we are teaching to our students?
No, I don't. I'm talking about English language itself. How can you know about your subject well? Now you are a teacher of English. You prepare your lesson planning. You do classroom management, but the subject, the language itself. Okay, how can you know your subject well? How can you be aware more of your language, of your subject? I mean, his subject here because we teach English in schools as a subject. Okay. Practice, applying the Mrs. Maha, applying the exercises or practice well. Okay. 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 As you know, yeah, read Mr. Adam, authentic stories and daily news. Prepare the lesson well and do some activities. Good. Okay. So when you know your language, okay, you should know its system, its skills well. For skills well, you should know practice listening, speaking, reading, writing well. You should know the systems of the language, grammar, vocabulary, phonology, pronunciation. You should update, you should upskill, you should upgrade your knowledge and skills of the language itself as a teacher, because you know, as a teacher, you will convey your knowledge indirectly to the student. So the first module in any TEFL or TESOL course is to the language awareness. At first, I try to upskill, to increase my teacher or my trainees skills and knowledge about language itself. You should be aware of its grammar system. As a teacher, you should know, I don't tell you to study grammar because you studied before, but you know the terminology. Okay, there is grammar for students and grammar for teachers. You should search for books that talk about grammar for teachers, how to teach pronunciation, how to know the phonology of the language of English, okay, to know how to speak, listen, read, and write well, because you at first you are a user of the language, then you are a teacher. Okay. The next point is English is please press sum up. English is a basic skill. Is what? Here is a gap here. It is a skill-based subject because we are teaching language, not a subject that has content like social, like science, like math. No, we are teaching skills. So I don't need to. I don't know, want the student to say Muhammad went to school. I need him to say, to know well that he used the word here, went, because it is the past of go, for example, okay? And he should know how to speak. Maybe at the beginning, he has some problems in to be fluent, but after more practice, his skills will be developed. So English is a skill-based subject, not a content-based subject. Okay, go on, Ms. Summer, please. Number 4, knowing the subject. Knowing the subject involves the following elements. I can develop and demonstrate proficiency in the target language in order to provide good model for my learners. I can develop an awareness of language systems in my learners. I can select the appropriate methodology and resources for introducing and practicing specific areas of the target language and language skills. So to know that, to be more proficient in language, so it is a must for you as a teacher. The next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, these are the areas of interest: grammar, legs, phonology, speaking, listening, reading, writing, register. Register is the function of language. You are talking formally or informally or neutral. The register means the function, language functions. Genre, okay, we have different genres in English. Maybe you are when you learn English for a specific purpose. For example, you know English for terminology of engineering, of medicine, or writing, academic writing genre. Okay, writing reports, medical reports, for example. Communication strategies. Okay, how to communicate well as a teacher. Learning strategies. You should study well the learning strategies of the learners. Varieties and standards of English. Contrastive analysis with other languages. If you have, I think this is not important for you, but you should know how to contrast between other languages, especially when you contrast between Arabic and English. I can show an awareness of the range of reference materials relevant to the subject and using these to support teaching and learning. I can show awareness, please, you have the word awareness all the time, awareness of theories of language acquisition and how these relate to specific teaching contexts. I can show reflect on my strengths and weaknesses in relation to my subject knowledge and its application. So here, metacognition, language awareness, you should know well about your language, language learning, so how your students learn language, language teaching, how to teach language. This is language awareness. In briefly, we have language, language learning, language teaching. Okay? The next domain, please, Ms. Summer. Managing resources. You have, when you teach, you have different resources for your teaching. So you should how to select, how to manage. I can select resources with an awareness of a range of available sources from which to select materials, a range of media, digital, audiovisual, print, okay, to my learners. A range of tools which facilitate the collaborative production of classroom materials. Can I do that? Okay, so when I choose my resources, I should take into consideration, I should pay or take into consideration these points, how to select, how to use digital resources. A range of tools which facilitate learner-generated content. Clear criteria for the selection of materials and resources based on my learners' needs and syllabus fit. There is a word fit. Okay, so you choose your resource according to your learners, according to the target language you present, according to your students' learning styles, according to your learners' needs, and of course to the syllabus. Okay, the next point. I can develop and adapt materials and resources which are professional, attractive, and accessible and fit my learners' needs and target language. So when you develop a material, maybe presentation, PDF, activities, okay, you choose or develop something which is attractive and accessible. It is accessible easily by your learners. I can use materials effectively in the classroom with appropriate pedagogical strategies. Okay, so I utilize my pedagogical strategies to my material. Okay, make effective use of stationary equipment and technology to support learning. Okay, so your resources, you have technology resources, technological resources, like maybe you have the data show, the smart board, the mobile apps, whatever. Evaluate the effectiveness of the materials, resources I use. You should evaluate. I used, for example, an application for quizzes with my students. Was it effective or not? Okay. Do all resources I use with my students were effective or achieved my objectives? Reflect on my approach to developing and managing materials and resources to meet learner outcomes. So I should use resources that achieve the learner outcomes or my objectives, which I set before the lesson. Number 6, please. Assessing learning. It's a very important point in teaching. You plan, you teach, and you need to assess. Assess learning involves the following elements. I can apply the principles and practices of assessment to design tasks for measuring my learners' progress. You should design assessment tools or assessment tasks that can really measure their achievement or their progress. I can utilize a range of different types of assessment and feedback. Okay, after assessment, you should give feedback. Okay, as you know, the feedback is very important stage in teaching. Use assessment at different points in the learning process to monitor my learners' understanding and inform subsequent teaching. Okay, so using assessment in different points, at different points in the learning process to monitor my learners' understanding. You should check, you ask some simple questions, okay, to check their understanding. This is a sort of assessment in all stages of the lesson. When you are presenting, you are practicing with them. You have the last one, which is free practice or production. Define appropriate assessment criteria and applying statement criteria constantly. Okay, you should define assessment criteria for, and I did that before, for levels from grade 1 to grade 12, a system of assessment. Each level has its own outcomes, its own objectives to be fulfilled, can-do statements. okay, according to the curriculum, the syllabus you follow, and according also to the CFR, اللي هو the reference of English. Analyze my learners' errors and providing constructive feedback. So you should analyze the errors and give feedback about these errors. Assessing learning, number 2, I can engage my learners in self and peer assessment. Sometimes you can follow the peer assessment technique. Students can correct for each other, especially in the writing, simple writing tasks, some tasks in the activity book for matching. Prepare my learners for formal assessment. Okay, so you have your assessment inside the class, but at the end of the term and the year, you have formal assessment. Okay, administering, grading, and keeping records of assessment. Share assessment data appropriately with parents, guardians, learners, and others. You should provide parents or guardians with the assessment for each learner. Okay, reflect on the effectiveness of my assessment of my learner's progress. Okay, did I achieve my assessment well? Did my assessment technique was helpful and supportive for learners? Because as you know, we have different or 3 main assessment for learning, assessment of learning, assessment as learning. Okay, assessment for learning, which is called formative assessment, assessment of learning, which is summative assessment at the end of the term or the course. The number 7, please, Ms. Summer. Integrating ICT involves the following elements. I can develop effective strategies for locating appropriate digital content, follow guidelines for e-safety, evaluate the potential effectiveness and appropriacy of digital content, tools, and platforms for achieving desired learning outcomes. So here you select the best technology that help you present your lesson, which is safe for your students. Use technology in the production of teaching and learning materials. Can I use the technology well? Okay, as a teacher, before educators didn't concentrate well on ICT, but nowadays ICT is an essential part of a teacher's framework. Okay, setting up activities that support learning by exploiting appropriate digital content, tools, and platforms. How to select the best platform for your students to practice English. For example, using a website, good website for them to practice English well, practice listening, for example. The best app for them to practice English on their mobile, like Oxford Listening program. Develop effective strategies for resolving potential technical issues. You should know how to manage some technical issues when you are using the technology. The next one, please.
Like we did now, Dr. Saf.
Yeah. We got a solution. Yeah. Integrating ICT, I can use technology for administrative tasks. Okay, use technology for administrative tasks. For example, you can use an application to assess your students, okay, or have a certain application to register your students' names and their progress in listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Okay, or you can register their absence. Okay, so you can use technology for some administrative tasks. Promote autonomous learning by exploiting digital content and technologies inside and outside of the formal learning environment. So you should help your students to be more autonomous. Promote collaborative and participatory learning. reflect on the effectiveness of my integration of ICT into the teaching and learning process. Was using integrating or using, sorry, ICT was effective or not? Okay, the next one. Taking responsibility for professional development. How can professional development is very important for you as teachers. Taking responsibility for my own professional development involves the following elements. Okay, at first, I can understand my professional needs, interests, and learning preferences in order to identify areas of development, define my short, medium, and long-term career goals, understand the developmental pathways available to reach my specific career goals. Okay, use technology to facilitate my professional development. Stay up to date with developments, education, and teaching and learning. Okay, so you should know well what you need as a teacher. Okay, I can be aware of selecting and engaging in appropriate professional development opportunities and resources to inform my classroom practice, including. So you should develop yourself to include the following: collaborating with colleagues, attending and presenting at conference. You can do that. You can collaborate with your colleagues, okay, with your in the school or outside school, okay, attending some webinars, conferences, participating in training, reading, publishing, joining teachers associations, okay, observing other teachers, experienced teachers, reflecting on and evaluating the benefit of my CPD and its impact on my classroom. Okay, you got some training courses. Okay, do they help you be more advanced in the classroom? Okay, do you practice well after you got your PD? Okay, the next one. Here is a picture of professional growth and effective practice. So the effective practice and the professional growth are related to each other because you got your PD programs and you should have effective practice. You should have effective practice. So you have planning and preparation, classroom environment, instruction, professional responsibility. So your professional growth, your professional development is related to your practice. Using inclusive practices, here using inclusive practice involves the following elements. I can recognize and value diversity among my learners in relation to areas which include language background, cognitive ability, academic ability, physical ability. Okay, so your students are not the same. You have mixed ability learners. So you should take into consideration, and your teaching include their language background. They are not the same. Cognitive abilities are not the same. Okay, academic abilities, physical ability, social background, behavioral differences, disability, maybe you have some disability cases, age, gender. These are different different circumstances or different conditions inside the class. The next point, using inclusive practice. Also, I can use pedagogical strategies that encourage inclusive education within a supportive learning environment. So I should select the best pedagogy or best methodology that help me include all my learners. I can support my learners in identifying, addressing, and assessing realistic individual learning goals based on reasonable adjustment. So you should support all your learners to achieve the goals you prepared using multilingual approaches. Using multilingual approaches involve the following elements. I can recognize and value the multilingual nature of societies, schools, and classrooms. Use pedagogical strategies that encourage inclusive education within a supportive multilingual learning environment. Be aware of beliefs about speakers of other languages. You are teaching to, maybe you are not teaching in your country, in another country. So you should take into consideration their language, their social background, their customs, their habits. Assess individual learners in a manner that takes their linguistic background into account. Okay. The next one, promoting 21st century skills. Promoting these skills involve I can develop an awareness of or a proficiency in critical thinking, as you know, problem solving. Can I develop collaboration and communication? Can I develop creativity and imagination? Can I develop citizenship? Can I develop digital literacy? These are the 21st century skills I need to develop in my students. Can I do that? So if I can't, I should develop myself. Student leadership and personal development. These are all the 21st century skills we need to focus on while teaching. The next. Also, I can select appropriate methodologies and resources for introducing, developing, and evaluating my learners' skills in the above areas, as we said. I can demonstrate the value and the importance of the 21st century skills to and for my learners. I can reflect on my strengths and weaknesses in relation to my own proficiency. Okay, so I should know well these skills to help my students acquire them, to help my students practice them. Okay, if I don't know them, I should develop myself. Understanding educational policies and practice. Understanding educational policies and practice involve the following elements. Locating up-to-date and relevant information about national, regional, and institutional education policies. You should know well the policies of the school, the institution, of the ministry. Okay, please, the previous one. Locating up-to-date and relevant information about international, national, regional, and institutional education practice. When you are teaching in an international place, you should also follow the policies and the restrictions. Okay, the next one. Employing professional and pedagogical practices that are consistent with applicable policies related to areas including the goals of education. When you are teaching, so you should pay attention to the goals of education, online and digital learning, learning empowerment, flipped classroom. These are some policies. Maybe you are in a school that focuses on flipped classroom. You should know well this policy, this strategy. Inclusive education, literacy, teaching standards, 21st century skills. These are different attitudes or different policies that are followed by some schools or some institutions. Okay, the next one. This is just a cycle, a CPD cycle. You should know where are you now, your level or your skills. You should set an objective, then implement changes. You have some changes, you should implement them in your teaching. You should measure and evaluate the effects of your implementation, and then reflect and consider. Okay, then after that, you start again with another skill. So the CPD is a cycle, it's non-stop. All the time you have continuous professional development. Okay. These are, okay, as I told you, or there is a form or questionnaire to evaluate your skills. The link will be provided by Ms. Sarah about this questionnaire or this training needs assessment.
Yes, I will put it in the chat box now.
Oh, okay. you should evaluate yourself if you meet these standards. You have 9 domains. You have planning lessons, managing the lesson, assessing learning, knowing the subject, managing resources, integrating ICT, understanding learners, promoting 21st century skills, using inclusive practices. Okay, the next one.
Doctor, would you like me to put the questionnaire now?
Yes, it's okay now for them to do. And I'll tell them now some points in this questionnaire to help them use it well. Okay, the next slide, please.
Okay.
For example, the assessment questionnaire will, in each item, you will have these 5 options. Okay? When you read the statement or the sentence, when you read it, you decide the statement is not clear for you. The statement is clear, but I'm not quite how to do this. I can do this, but not very effectively. I can do this quite well. I can do this very well. So when you have A or B, you then have a problem. Okay, you need to upskill yourself to develop yourself. Now, number C, maybe you need to read more about this topic because you can't implement it well. Okay, we will take now a sample, please. Next slide.
Sorry, doctor.
The next
Would you like
slide.
the next slide? Okay.
This is an example for planning lessons and courses. Think about when you plan your lesson. I can write lesson aims which describe the intended learning outcomes for a class. This is the item. This is the skill. Okay, if you can, so the statement is, if you can't, so the statement is not clear for you. The statement is clear, but I'm not quite how to do this. And this is a problem. If you can't do a skill of teaching, so this is a problem and you need to develop yourself. I can do this, but not very effectively. I can do this quite well. I can do this very well. So you select according to your practice, your skills, okay? There is another example, please. Here also managing the lesson. I can describe how I can give explanation that the learners are able to understand. Okay, so you choose or select the answer that fits you, or you feel you have this option or this answer. I can give explanation that the learners are able to understand. Can I do that? Can I do that well? I need to be more developed. Okay, the next one. These are the suggested courses for you as teacher. When you decide and define your needs as a teacher, and you need to develop yourself. If you are a fresh graduate, if you are novice teacher, if you are less experienced, even you are experienced, you should know that you have TEFL terminology. This is a course. This is about 10 hours. You should prepare yourself to get the TKT of Cambridge, TKT certificates. There are 3 certificates from Cambridge, 3 modules related to basic teaching, okay? TEFL intro course, when you prepare yourself to get a TEFL course or a CELTA, you need to prepare yourself by studying an intro course for TEFL. Or you can go TEFL course, full course, 120 hours. This is the minimum of TEFL courses in the world, 120 hours. TESOL or CELTA content course or CELTA official, it's also 120 hours. Teaching English online, this is another course which is very important nowadays, how to teach the language skills online. Teaching IELTS, how to teach IELTS for IELTS, the teachers who want to teach IELTS. Teaching business English, how to teach business English. CLIL, and this is very important for teachers of English and other teachers of subjects like social science, math, art, IT. Okay, you should know what is CLIL and how to practice it, how to present a content for students. These are the courses which I suggest for you, and these courses are available. If you want, you can click to my Step into TEFL page community, and you can see these, you get more information about each course. The next slide, please. Okay.
Doctor, before moving on to the slide, about teaching IELTS, should we, before we teach IELTS to students or to teach other teachers, should we be level C2 before we go to this teaching IELTS?
According to Cambridge levels, Cambridge standards, when you are a teacher or examiner for a certain skill, okay, you should be a level above this exam. Okay, for example, you are teaching IELTS for a learner who wants to get band 7. Okay, you can teach him if you are in the same level. Okay, you should be at least 7.5 or 8, band 8, for example. Okay, so you should develop your language proficiency first before you teach IELTS, because IELTS has a lot of scientific words, especially for the academic module. Okay, now you got the link for the questionnaire. You can.
Yes, I in the chat box.
Now you can click the link and follow it and write down your information, your data, and select. And after that, I'll get your response. I'll get your responses, your submissions on my email, and I can help you if you need anything later about these courses. You can log into my Step into TEFL community page, okay, and I can help you and support you with anything you need.
Doctor, I asked about teaching IELTS because I see some people, they want to take the certificate to teach IELTS and they don't take the exam itself before that. Do you understand?
Yes, I know. But when you are taking this certificate from a recognized institution like British Council or IDP, they want to give you this certificate without examining you. I got it from British Council in case A to be a TEFL trainer, okay? So
yes.
It wasn't easy to get it, okay? There is an interview before doing that. But now, as you know, there are some online platforms that provide certificates.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, doctor, let me let the audience or the people who are in this meeting to ask you some questions if you want, please.
Okay, no problem. It's okay.
Okay, so anyone who wants to ask the doctor, I will unmute her or him. Do you have any questions, ladies and gentlemen? I think everything is clear.
Okay, now you got the item. All the items I mentioned in my presentation are found.
Could I ask, please?
Okay, no problem.
There is a very big gap between theory and the practice in our schools, in our students.
Yes.
What can we do?
Okay, It depends on the school you are talking about. If you are talking about a government school, so here is you are following a certain technique, or sorry, certain policies by the government or by the administration. If you are teaching for a private school or national, international, whatever, okay, they have certain criteria to be followed inside the school. Okay, but anything happened inside the class, you can change it. Maybe I don't mean you can change it altogether, but I mean you can change gradually. I know the students concentrate on getting what they need to pass the exam, the final exam. But when you are trying to change their culture in providing English for skills, you are teaching skills, okay? Try to change their language. And I think nowadays, using the internet, change some points for learners and for parents. They now learn well that teaching English is not for exams, because after they finish school, they go to get courses. So why they get courses and they can have everything inside the class in schools? So I know it's not easy for you to change the culture, but start practicing teaching, concentrating on skills. Try to help students to talk fluently inside the class. Okay, they need some grammar, some vocabulary to pass the exam. This is not a problem, but when they need to acquire language or to practice language, you can change their culture gradually. Try to gamify, make some sort of gamification in your teaching. You know, gamification to make some competitions, to some tasks that are not usual, that are not regular for them. Okay, this is, I know it is not easy for you, but it needs some graduality to achieve.
And Dr. Parents, they want their kids to be native speakers, and after finishing the school, they go to courses, and inside the class, they only want the exam. I don't know why.
So they want to learn from native speakers, you said?
No. They want their kids to be like native speakers.
Yeah.
And they, after finishing the school year, they take their students or their kids to courses, and in the school year or in the full year, in the older year, they only want their kids to get full mark in the exam. They don't care about pronouncing well or being good in reading and writing, speaking. They only want the exam.
Okay. You know, this problem is not because of the parents or you as a teacher. The problem is the assessment criteria the school employ. If you have an assessment which is based on skills, if you have to assess your students according to, like IELTS, the candidate is assessed according to reading, listening, speaking, writing. Okay, why don't we have such system inside your schools? If you are in a school, your private school, okay, so you can change that. But I know in government school you can't change this assessment criteria. But at least you can follow your own assessment criteria before assessing them formally. Okay, so try to make some sort of, as I said before, to help your students concentrate on fluency. Don't concentrate at the beginning on accuracy of their language, and try to convince them that exams is not that difficult thing to be afraid of or to be frightened from. No, they try to support them well using the language, and exams are not difficult.
Okay, Mr. Mohsen, Mansi has a question.
Yes, Mr.
Yes, please, Doctor. I have just a little question about the stages of development. Number 2 is integration, and number 3 is engagement. So can you please explain to me?
Integration, you now are aware of the skill. For example, you flipped classroom. Okay, the idea, and now you can integrate it in your teaching. While you are teaching, for example, writing, you integrate it. You present writing using flipped learning or flipped classroom. After that, the engagement. You are now in the stage that you are using it more and more. You are engaged, your students, your learners, and you yourself use it more and more time. Okay, so the beginning of integration, it is just a beginning, the beginning of using this technique. After that, you have the full engagement of this technique.
Very much the integration. How do you to use the writing? What did you say? I didn't understand it. Integration. When I like to explain writing, what can I do?
Okay, I talked about flipped classroom. When you are using, for example, flipped classroom to develop writing skills. Okay, so you know well how to practice or how to employ flipped classroom. You know, you have an, okay, you provide your students with a pre-course or pre-class or before the lesson with some information, some the target language itself. They read about it, how to write essay, for example, and give them some examples. They read about it before the lesson itself. Then after that, inside the class, they practice. So you followed the flipped classroom and integrated it in your teaching. Okay. After that, you can engage, use flipped classroom in all your skills, in reading, listening, speaking. So you make some sort of engagement. You engage your students. You engage your teaching using this skill. So integration, number 1, then engagement.
I'm asking about the flipped. What do you mean by the word flipped? Flipped.
The word flipped classroom. Flipped classroom. It is a strategy or a technique used to flip the learning teaching process. As you know, regularly you give your students inside the class the target language. You present them the language, the vocabulary, the grammar, okay, inside the class. Then you give them tasks outside the class. Okay, this is the regular technique. But flipped classroom is to give them what you want to give inside the class, to give them before the class, outside the class. You give them the target language. Okay, then only in the class you practice. You give them tasks. They do collaboratively inside the class. So you flipped the learning teaching process. You know?
Okay, so you mean that flip, like, for example, that as a homework to prepare it at home and then come and practice in the lecture, in the classroom?
So the homework inside the class and the lesson or the target language outside the class.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mahsan. Ms. Maha wants to ask Mr. Ismail. I tried to unmute you, but you didn't. Ms. Maha?
Yes, okay. Good evening, Mr. Mar and Dr. Ahmed. Thank you so much about this session. Really, this session is so beneficial and amazing. So I wanna ask Dr. Ahmed. Really, I wanna take all of them of these courses, but I face some problems because when I make placement tests, my level is at beginning of B2. So I know you can anybody make this make the IELTS. So you know you can when I make the test of IELTS band 4 or band 9, maybe when at the beginning of level B2. Which advice before join any courses of them?
Okay. If you are talking about courses related to language proficiency, يعني أي امتحان يكون خاص باللغة language proficiency, you need to develop your skills. You need to, okay, if you are applying for IELTS exam, for example, you should study well the material of IELTS, especially concentrate well on the vocabulary. The vocabulary is the key master of IELTS, because if you understand each word in the exam, you can do well. You can do well. The problem of IELTS is you should know more vocabulary. You should study well. You should answer a lot of exams, especially in reading and writing. Okay, because reading and writing will be reflected on your listening and speaking, and also try to listen well. To listen, you have a lot of platforms, a lot of websites that help you listen well. You can go to Teaching English for the British Council, I think. Also, Voice of America would help you a lot to develop your language, especially for fluency. Okay, so regarding other courses like TEFL or TESOL, as a teacher, the minimum level of English needed is B2. Okay, even for CELTA, maybe some centers need C1, but the minimum level for any teaching qualification is B2. So you have no problem to apply for any teaching qualification. But for IELTS, you should develop yourself. You should listen well and practice the IELTS tasks well before you have. You have also some websites like Lease IELTS. You can search on Google. You can find a lot of websites that can help you in IELTS. Also, there is a platform which is Future Learn. Future Learn, it is something like Coursera, like other platforms. Okay, this Future Learn has a lot of courses related to IELTS. It will help you to manage the 4 skills of IELTS.
Thank you, Dr. Ahmed. But what about the course of conversation? This is course. Can I improve myself about of skill or 4 skills? Listening, reading, speaking. The course of conversation or what?
The course of conversation is very important because it will help you as a teacher to talk with your learners. It will help you a lot to use language authentically. You know, يعني تتكلم اللغة بطلاقة زي ما بتكلم أهلها اللي هم native speakers. The conversation is very important for you and for any English learner. Okay, but you should, when you have a conversation course, you shouldn't depend on material, on reading, or no. You should listen well. You are provided with listening audio, listening videos, okay? And you make some sort of shadowing. You know shadowing? Shadowing, yeah. When you listen to imitation, but it is not imitation after when I say I can play football, okay? You don't say after the sentence ends. No, when I start saying I can play football, you say in the real time, you say with me. Okay, this is shadowing. Shadowing is very important, and it is used by interpreters to train them to listen and speak well, speak fast. Okay.
Yes, there are difference between shadowing and imitation. Imitation at the end of the sound, but shadowing at the same time.
Yes, in the real time. Yes. You are listening to a native speaker, and you are saying at the same time with him.
So, do you have any app or any any program about shadowing because I wanna download it. Download, please.
Okay, I'll provide Ms. Summer with some channels on YouTube that are using shadowing. Also, when you, if you search the Google Play on your mobile, just type in Google Play shadowing English. You will have a lot of shadowing programs, shadowing applications, because this shadowing is very familiar, is very popular in some countries like Japan, like Iran, like some, you know, the Asian countries.
Yes, okay. Thank you, Dr. Ahmed. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. You are welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Ahmed. There is Mr. Ahmed, Mr. Ismail, also Ms. Badriya. On can talk. I don't know why they can't talk because I already unmuted them.
Okay, no problem. Maybe they.
Hello, Dr. Ahmed. How are you?
Fine, and you?
I'm well. Can I ask some questions about how to teach IELTS?
How to teach IELTS is, you know, you should follow, you know, there is a course in Cambridge which is teaching for exams. When you are teaching for exams, okay, especially for IELTS, you should first study the skills, the 4 skills of IELTS, the type of questions, okay? Okay, because when you teach IELTS, you are not teaching language, you are teaching the techniques,
For the exam,
the exam itself. Here, the answer needs 2 words, okay? But if you put 3 words, it's for IELTS criteria. Even it is correct for language, okay? But in IELTS criteria, it is wrong. So as a teacher, you should study well the items of the exam and how to help the learners, or how to help the candidates of the exam. How to help them to deal with the exam properly. For example, you should provide them with the most important vocabulary they need for academic module. Okay. Also, you should know well the difference between general training of IELTS and the academic module. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Dr. Mrs. Maha was asking about fluency. Inshallah, after 10 days, I think, after 10 days, inshallah, we are going to have a native speaker, and he is going to talk about how to improve your fluency. Inshallah.
Okay, I told you the first step to do to increase or to develop your fluency.
Yes.
Shadowing is very important, and I know well about this technique because it was my PhD project.
No, I'm just telling. I'm just marketing for this session. Sorry.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, but if he is a native speaker, he would give you more technique.
Do you think, Doctor, 24 hours for how to teach IELTS is enough? So make sure that you will some like sufficient for teaching IELTS?
Here, 24 hours for you as a teacher to teach IELTS, okay?
Yeah, as a training.
Yeah, as a training for you as a teacher. Not to, when I teach for students or for learners, it is different. It depends according to their level of English and their level or their required level, the band required. Yeah. For example, when someone needs band 7.5, okay, it needs a lot of time to achieve that. But as a teacher, you are already a teacher and you have teaching skills, okay? But teaching IELTS for you is not that difficult. It is, you know the methodology well, but you need to, I need to concentrate to help you to focus on certain techniques, certain items of the exam, how to help the learner to pass this skill. Okay.
Okay, but most of courses is like 30 hours or 35 hours for teaching IELTS. Do you think it's enough for the students to make sure that he can got a band score what he wants?
Okay. Before, now I'm talking about learners, about students. When students, at first, I give them a placement test. I know well their level, okay? After that, I decide how many hours they need, because, you know, you can't teach all students in the same way or in the same time allotment, okay? So when you have, for example, a learner that B2 plus, for example, so you don't need a lot of time to help him to pass to get band 7 or band 7.5. Okay, you only teach him the techniques, and the techniques doesn't need more than 24 hours. Okay, but when you teach language plus the techniques, you need 40, 50 hours. Okay, because you are teaching language and teaching IELTS techniques.
Okay, Dr. Now Ismail can talk, please.
Okay. Thank you very much, all of you, and I'm really very happy to have with you here, and I also like to really acknowledge you and the teacher as well. Really, the worth things that he has really shared with us in this group. So my question is, now I am preparing Master of Education in Teaching English as a Foreign Language, TEFL. So, and I've only started recently, but I didn't so far started the course, the subject, but I hope that this Friday will be starting the first class or the first session. So is it really, when it comes for education, for in that TEFL, so what are the main things which I need to concentrate on?
Okay, any course of TEFL or TESOL, they are they are the same nearly. Okay, you should prepare yourself before the course to read in some resources like Learning Teaching for Scrivener. Okay, this is a good book for you as a learner or as a TEFL student. Okay, also you need to revise well the glossary of TKT from Cambridge. It has a certain glossary of the terminology of TEFL. You should know well before starting to help you, because some trainers deal with the trainees that they have previous background. Okay, so you should build your background by reading the TKT glossary, and it's available on the internet. Just type TKT glossary, you will get it in the PDF. Also, TKT glossary. I wrote it in the
Okay.
Yes. Assalamu alaikum.
TKT glossary. Okay, so you can. It will be helpful for you. And how to teach English. Also, there's a book how to teach listening. There are a lot of books for Scrivener. Okay, and also for Penny Orr. Penny Orr also has a lot of books. Penny Orr.
How it spells? How it spells? Please.
I typed it in the chat box. Penny Orr, and also TKT glossary.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Any questions?
Yes, please.
Okay, go on, please.
Assalamu alaikum.
السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
First of all, I have to thank you, Dr. Ahmed. We really gained a lot of benefits in this meeting, and we really appreciate your efforts, and thanks for your time.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.
At the beginning, I need to let you know that I'm an English teacher for the primary cycle from about 20 years. And I want to ask about your opinion about the new curriculum for the primary governorate schools, Connect, because I think me and all my friends and all the teachers in the primary cycle are suffering from this curriculum. It's so heavy and so long. So I need your opinion.
Okay, let me talk about. I know this problem is maybe all primary teachers have this problem. Okay, because they got used to teaching English from other courses, use grammar and vocabulary, and this course, the grammar is embedded. This is not clear grammar inside the course. And also the course has new modules added to each unit. The CLIL, the content. You have some, some parts about science, math. Okay, now there is, there is an attitude in the world to practice English through content. Okay, you are teaching students English as EFL, English as a foreign language. Students don't have a context, don't have situations to practice language, okay? Okay, when you are teaching them only the skills inside the class, they don't feel they got something important, okay? So, but when they practice their language in context or in content like social, like science, like math, they can use their language. The information you provide to them is not important because they get this information from the science book, from the math teacher, from the social teacher. Okay, but when you are teaching this content or this part from social, science, math, you are using the language. It's just just a context you use to practice language inside the class to give their language some authenticity. Okay, because they don't have something to talk with or to talk about outside the class. Only inside your class they learn English. Okay, so when teachers avoid teaching grammar, okay, they can teach Connect well. Why?
Okay, as I understand it, you are trying to tell me that I don't concentrate on grammar, and I don't concentrate of the information. So what I should concentrate on?
Okay. Now you concentrate on the first grades like grade 1 or KGs, grade 1, grade 2, and grade 3. The writing skills or the reading skills is not at the first option. That you need to concentrate on the oral skills first. Even in Arabic, when they learn Arabic, at first they don't need, because they don't have the mechanism of writing well at the beginning of their school. Okay, so at first concentrate on oral skills, listening and speaking. Let them play games inside the class, but not games related to the language. Okay, some sort of gamification of the content. After that, when they are maybe in the grade 2 or grade 3, start to concentrate on writing skills. Okay, but before that, oral skills are the most important to help them use the language. The language is not it's not just vocabulary and grammar. And when you teach them vocabulary, Don't give separated words. Give them sentences. If they can, if you give them some tasks to do inside, at home, you can give some sentences to write. For example, they have the word sport, okay? And don't give them the word sport separately, okay? Give them a sentence. I love some sports like football and tennis, for example, okay? So here, the word sport are related with examples. And when they say the sentence more than, for example, 2 or 3 times, okay, they can use this sentence as a model. For example, they can say, I like foods like vegetables and fruit, for example. So when you are modeling sentences for students in the lower grades, it's very important for them because you are helping them acquire the language in collocation, in chunks. You know, teaching language in chunks, not in separated words. Because as you know, the traditions of teaching English in primary school, you give words and the students write all the page.
No, that's wrong.
This is so. When
I want to talk about the length of the curriculum. They have in grade 2 and 3 6 units for a term. Each unit has 8 lessons. Each lesson has two or three new ideas. So I can't give feedback. I can't make a revision. I can't. What can I do? This is a general complaining, not just me.
I know, not you only who complain about that, but I attended last March a conference about this. Not this course definitely, but the company itself, the publisher, has a lot of books and syllabuses here in Egypt. So they concentrate on language. Okay, I mean, teach them what they need. You don't need to teach everything, every word in the module or in the unit. Okay. You have certain objectives, okay? In your teacher's book, you have certain objectives to achieve, okay? So try to achieve your goals using most of the content, most of the tasks. You don't need to concentrate on each task because you don't have enough time. But when you achieve your goals, it's not a problem. You have no problem here.
Okay, I need to tell you that I'm teaching, I have taught this curriculum for 3 years, first grade and second grade and third grade. And I also worked at the KG2 classes. I didn't finish the curriculum in any year of them. The curriculum didn't finish. So
I know you didn't finish the curriculum because you wanted to teach every task, every activity, every part.
No. I prepare the lessons according to the sorry, what is the name? The
schedule or the time?
Yes, timetable. So I have two lessons, or 1 lesson or 2 lessons per the lesson. I didn't.
You followed.
Finish.
So you followed the official.
You get what I want to say. Yes.
Oh, okay. You followed the schedule or the distribution of syllabus of the government, okay?
Yes.
So and you didn't achieve it?
we didn't finish the curriculum.
I didn't finish it.
We left at least 2 units in every syllable, and we don't present the story. No, if the story we didn't do it in any curriculum.
Okay, maybe there is a problem.
That's not my يعني عام يعني.
Okay, I know. Maybe you have a problem in the distribution you got from the administration or from the supervisor. But as a teacher, you can make some sort of adaptation, some sort of selecting the main skills, the main activities. Okay, the main target language you need to convey to the students to avoid having a gap in the future. Okay, so try to make some sort of distribution for yourself. Distribute the units according to your pace, according to your teaching. Okay, so to avoid having gaps in the learners in the future. Just it.
Thank you, Dr. Ahmed. I
Okay.
think this is a problem for teachers ever in all the places in the world.
Thank you. And I'm sorry for being
No. It's our problem. We all have the same problem. Thank you, Doctor. We have to end the meeting now because we have revision in physics after a few minutes. Thank you, Doctor.
Okay. Thank you very much for inviting me for such session, and I'm very happy to help my colleagues and the teachers.
صراحة كانت محاضرة جميلة يعني أنا كمان تابعت خطوة بخطوة عشان ماشية مع حضرتك في الباوربوينت. بصراحة يعطيك العافية، معلومات كتير قيمة. ربنا يبارك في عمرك يا دكتور.
هو بس يعني بعتذر للأخوة في البداية، كان في مشكلة مش عارف، أنا أول مرة تحصل معايا إنه يحصل شير لشيء ويحصل الموقف ده يعني، لكن قدر الله ما شاء فعل، وإن شاء الله يشوفوا الفيديو كامل بقى على اليوتيوب إذا كنت حضرتك بتنزليه على اليوتيوب يعني.
بالظبط، هو حاليا أصلا لايف على اليوتيوب.
تمام حضرتك، تمام بإذن الله.
مشكور يا دكتور، ربنا يبارك في عمرك.
شكرا لك جدا، وإن شاء الله تحت أمرك في أي وقت في أي شيء بإذن الله.
جزاك الله خير. أنا كمان حطيت للأساتذة لينك على الشات، الناس اللي حضرت بس تكتب كلمة للدكتور وتكتب تم، حطيته لهم مرة تانية. وفي البوستر بتاع الإعلان المحاضرة في كلمة مخفية سر، فعايزين نشوف مين اللي هيختارها. مسابقة.
تمام إن شاء الله. أوكي.
حضرتك بقى لو عرفتها تعتري على الخاص.
طيب بإذن الله. أنا ممكن أكون عرفتها لأن قرأت وكان في حسيت إن في حاجة كده، إن شاء الله أشوفها.
ماشي يا دكتور، ربنا يبارك فيك. في ناس بتسأل على الماتيريال، هل في إتاحة إن هم يحصلوا الماتيريال أو شيء؟ ولا هو برايفت؟
والله هو أنا هنزل لهم ماتيريال متعلق بالموضوع ده، هنزل لهم الفريم ورك كله اللي هو فيه كل واحد يقدر يشوفه ويقدر يقيم نفسه من خلال المعايير دي. فحضرتك هم إذا يعني ما اعرفش ابعتها من خلال حضرتك او انا ابعت لك الرابط وهم يحملوا، حضرتك تنزلي.
حضرتك ابعت لي الرابط ان شاء الله واحنا في تواصل ما بيننا.
هيبقى في حضرتك الاوبزرفيشن فورم، وهيبقى في الفريم ورك كله عشان كل واحد يحدد هو مستواه فين، يا ترى هو فاونديشن ولا ديفلوبينج ولا بروفيشنال ولا اكسبيرت، بيحدد مستواه. وكمان من خلال TNA اللي هو بعتنا لهم الرابط بتاعه. شكرا لكم وتحت.
شكرا يا دكتور. احنا صراحة في أكاديمية ارتقاء بنتشرف ان احنا نجيب ناس دايما تساعدنا على الارتقاء، يعني هو هدفنا الارتقاء بنفسنا وبالآخرين. حاضر يا مستر أحمد، ان شاء الله بنفس الوقت. شكرا يا دكتور، شكرا لحضوركم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. مع السلامة.